I'm going to begin with a quick, kind of summary. Beijing's widespread pollution is likely a large contributor to the increase in temperature and can be accredited to a number of factors. Just like some examples of these factors are an enormous economic upturn, which would lead to um, an increase in population growth. So it's another factor farther down. An increase in the number of motorized vehicles also can be influenced by population growth. And finally, an output from manufacturing, which can be due to population growth. Beijing has the fastest rise in average temperature at a going rate of adding 0.32 degrees Celsius every decade. As a response to this, the city recognizes the severity of the danger that it is in and has responded by enacting regulations to reduce emissions and prevent future damage, such as joining the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement and promising to be carbon neutral by 2060. So I'll kind of go section by section. So Beijing having one of the fastest average temperatures in the world, that's a really big deal. So that's one of the main reasons I kind of was really excited to kind of learn more about this, is because it is such it's on the map, and then how the city kind of has, even in the earlier stages, when I talk about the summary, you can see that they already started to kind of respond to this, obviously, because their people are in danger. And they did this by creating regulations and certain policies and things. And one of those was joining the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement, which we had learned about even more in class. I was assigned the Paris Climate Agreement. So I thought that was kind of interesting how they chose to join that and how that would affect them. And then promising to be carbon neutral by 2060, which is obviously a pretty big goal, especially for a place like Beijing, but I think it's doable if they, really focus on that. So this is just kind of an image to show visually what pollution can look like, and especially if one of the main contributors are output from manufacturing. A lot of these are from coal burning facilities, and this is kind of some what it looks like. Purpose and need. So Beijing's air pollution has resulted in decreased birth rates, rising adult mortality due to respiratory illness. And I don't know, it's just incredible that, pollution can cause so many effects, not only to the people, but also to the people living inside of them, their unborn children and their ability to have children in general. It's also led to the high pollution has been linked to lower lifespans, lung cancer, and lung cancer rates have skyrocketed more than 60% in the last decade, with no increase in smoking rates. So that was also very interesting because, the lung cancer rates have skyrocketed, but it's not due to smoking rates like most people would think. It's genuinely just due to the pollution that's taking place there. The country is the world's greatest coal producer, producing almost half of all the coal consumed worldwide, which is also just crazy to think. But this is one of the biggest contributors to the pollution there, is the large amounts of coal being released into the environment. So the coal is primarily at fault and accounts for roughly 2/3 of China's energy consumption. So this is kind of my proposed action and alternative. So I started doing a little overview, and then I'll go into how I'm gonna put that together. So large amounts of coal being released into the atmosphere in Beijing are mainly due to the higher usage of coal-fired power plants. In 2016, the government prohibited the building of new coal-fired power plants. and coal usage began declining. When the restriction expired in 2018, however, new coal-fired plant and construction was resumed. So, although their original goal, this policy that they enacted, it did work for a short period of time, but when that restriction expired, then it led to people just continuing what they were doing before. Another law was passed in 2014 in Beijing that limited the amount of coal released per coal-based power plant. That way they could kind of limit the amount and hope to create less coal that's going into the environment. And with this law, China rolled out new air pollution emission standards for new and existing coal-fired power plants, were stronger than the comparable standards in the European Union and the United States. By merging both of these policies, there could be a successful reduction of the burning of coal. So what I would do is kind of do something similar. The action and the plan that I would do would be, or this specific proposed action would be to combine this first law that we saw back here, this policy that prohibits the building of new power plants, coal-fired power plants. That way we can kind of slow that rate, and we'll be able to, even if we create this policy, kind of limiting the amount per coal-based power plant, there will still be creating more, and that could be just as bad. So I think by kind of connecting both of these, we could find a good alternative. So many different companies will be affected by this policy, some more harshly than others, as different companies have different values, ideologies, and so on towards the burning of coal. Certain companies, such as smaller ones, would be affected less intensely because them being less small, they're producing less coal, therefore they will be less intensely focused on, because the original people, the initial people who will be focused on are the people in the companies that are releasing extreme amounts, and that's probably what we would focus on first and limit that, and then work our way down. So although the entirety of Beijing is polluted, the main effects are present in the city, where many people choose to wear masks due to the harsh pollution, which I thought was very interesting, because even before COVID, it's genuinely just because of the pollution that's going on, which is crazy that to imagine that you would have to wear a mask due to pollution. But the main effects are taking place in the city because a lot of not only transportation vehicles and things like that, but also many of these power plants are near the city. The usage of the proposed action plan could potentially create more clear skies and safe air. Some expected impacts by implementing this policy. There are potential negative and positive impacts, as they are for any sort of proposed action. Some of these possible negative impacts could be the anger and overall just backlash from larger companies and factories that are producing materials using coal burning techniques. So of course, with the initial progression of these policies and our proposed action, this could cause a lot of anger within the larger companies, and them wanting to continue producing with coal because it's more efficient for them and their business, and as in money making. And so that would be something that would be a very I would say the most not obvious, but predictable maybe, and largest kind of negative that would come from this. Some alternatives could be recommendations from other methods, such as using burning oil, using nuclear energy, natural gas, and more recently, renewable energy could be suggested. and we could kind of hopefully find a way to make these become more readily available for these companies. That way they're able to kind of actually like use that. Some expected positive impacts are a reduction in coal burning and a more general, just like more safe environment for people to live in. So this is kind of this is a graph that shows the pollution levels in Beijing, China between 2010 and 2020. So obviously you can see it kind of peaked in 2010, and it stayed around the same rate. And then more recently, as these policies, you can see the 2015, it goes down by like 15-ish, and that could be because of the Paris Agreement. And then later on, you can see this continues going down as in 2017 when the other policy was signed. So, okay. And then the consultations and coordination would likely occur with in this action plan would be with the state and the country governments, as well as local companies willing to help. So I feel like the larger ones are probably going to be the most important because they are the kind of not in charge, but they're able to like determine what happens and who can do what, and then eventually work down to the smaller, more local companies. In 2016, the government prohibited the building of new coal-fired power plants. This prohibition would definitely be included in the discussion surrounding the new grid policy. So within that, we would definitely kind of like bring up the past policies and talk about how we would implement those and add those into our policies, and how those negatively and positively affected the environment, the people, just overall the well-being of like the country or the city. Thank you. Any questions?